I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody.
We have great fans. I want to thank them for being here. So it's a great night for Nebraska.
The Nebraska Democratic Party is not going to have a sort of, burning bush moment where everything gets turned around in one election. That doesn't happen.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Mac McCoy, and this is this week's version of Point Counterpoint here at Point Counterpoint Omaha. Now, we have a open public discussion page, I guess, on Facebook, and it's under Point Counterpoint Omaha. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about some of our requests and maybe some boundaries. I guess I'd call them boundaries, and also share some not going to happen on this page kind of stuff. But that is in order. And when you're listening to it, you're going to go, why don't these guys just have this conversation off air? Transparency. I want the audience to know why I don't want it and you want it, or I think it's wrong and you think it's right, because as far as I'm concerned, they're a part of this program, so they don't really have any rules to follow, because I'm not going to put rules on that. We have a couple, Larry and Dorsey, which we've banned. Unfortunately, we've had to block, and only one person in a year. That was pretty good. But everybody, all of us, we were all anonymous. No, not anonymous. Unanimous.
Unanimous, yes.
Yeah, that this person should not have access to that page. And when you think about all the people that are on our page commenting, that's a pretty good average. Yeah. So, all right, so here's our topics today. And the first one will be short because we don't know what's happening, but we can kind of predict what could happen. And that's Trump and Putin. Then seems to be the big story of the week, D.C. and federal troops. And then I hadn't heard about this till I got your email, but Dorsey, but parents being jailed because of kids' crimes?
Yep.
Is that happening?
It is in process.
All right. We'll talk about that.
In New Jersey.
Gerrymandering in California, or in Texas, and now California. And then we're going to get into a conversation about language on social media. And I'm going to discuss a little bit, because of my faith, there are certain things that I shouldn't do, and I sometimes do them. And I apologize. I repent. I ask for your forgiveness, but I'll probably do it again because I'm just a crappy person. All right, so let's. Oh, and Larry's back with us.
Yes.
Yay!
Welcome back.
Yeah, we went out and dug him up out of his grave. He looked pretty good in his coffin, and we brought him back in front of the mic.
I've got my best suit on.
Yeah. You feeling better?
I'm feeling much, much better. Still, nobody has any idea what happened,
Huh.
but everyone agrees it happened.
And that was like an infection?
No, it was, I had gone in, I had hip surgery 4 weeks prior. I went to see my surgeon for a 4-week checkup, and he said, "You look great, you look wonderful." That was a Friday. And Sunday morning, I woke up, got out of bed, and I couldn't straighten up. My back, just a little lower back. So I went through now a couple of weeks of that and just starting to get it under control again. So I have no idea why. They did x-rays and scanned, and everything looks fine.
All right, and you're going to make it.
I am. I am.
Right. All right, so point counterpoint. Dorsey, I'm going to let you take the lead on the, you put in there the D.C. and the federal troops.
Yeah, so I've been watching CNN, MSNBC, Fox. That's what I do. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things that I had forgotten about that I had learned in civics in school. And that what Trump is doing there with the National Guard is actually legal. And the reason why it is because the District of Columbia was set up to run the government. That's why it's not a state.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to make sure that one state didn't have more sovereignty than the others. and that the President of the United States is actually, for lack of a better word, the governor of that. So he gets to do whatever he feels is appropriate. So I found that very interesting because I had forgotten about that, right?
Mhm.
And, um, but the thing, and I've been polling my, there we go. I've been asking my conservative friends and my Democrat friends because they have a big problem with what he's done in L.A. and and they're kind of irritated that MSNBC and CNN are portraying them as not being okay with what Trump's doing. They are happy that Trump is doing that. I have liberal friends in D.C. and they're doing somersaults because they said it got to the point of where they were very irritated that they had to go back into work because they felt that you were taking their lives in their own hands just going from their house to a government building to go to work.
Okay.
So,
Now, well, Dennis, you go ahead and speak, and then Larry. I want to take the
right.
conversation then to the point. Okay, it's legal in D.C.
yes.
Is it legal other places? So, but you go ahead.
Well, I think this whole thing is entirely unnecessary. The crime rate in D.C. is at a 30-year low. It's been in decline for several years. I lived in Washington, D.C. from 82 to 85 when I went to law school at the Catholic University of America. Crime was a lot higher in D.C. in the 80s than it is now. And when I was in D.C. in the 80s, I always felt very safe around the National Mall, the Georgetown area, the Capitol, the White House area, at all hours of the day and the night. I mean, I was young and foolish in those days, and sometimes I'd be in the downtown area in the wee hours. I never felt in any danger. Now, where I went to school at Catholic University, I felt pretty safe during the day there, but at night it was a pretty rough part of town. But I mean, this whole thing is unnecessary. I mean,
Well, now, hold on. You're talking about 40 years ago.
right.
Okay.
And crime is lower now, so I'm assuming
It is not lower now.
It is lower
It is
now.
not lower
Well,
now.
let me make my point. Trump declared there's an emergency. There's no emergency. I mean, it's just a figment of his imagination. This is a PR stunt. It's a bright, shiny object. So we're not talking about the Epstein cover-up and the bad news on the economy that came out this week. We're talking about D.C. We're not talking about a record number of layoffs since 2020, highest level of corporate bankruptcy since 2020, another bad inflation report. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this bright, shiny object in D.C., and we're not talking about the continuing Epstein cover-up as well, too. So Trump has done a good job of distracting people, and these National Guard troops in D.C., they're not going to the high crime areas. They're hanging around the National Mall in Georgetown where crime is very low, and the National Guard, under the rules of engagement, aren't even armed. So this is just a PR stunt. It's kind of silly, quite frankly.
Yes or no answer. Is Putin and Trump getting together in Alaska a stunt?
I think it's serious because I think they'd like to settle the war. It's hard to know how the talks will turn out. Trump's had a weird pattern for years where he is very obsequious and deferential to Putin. But the last few months, I think Putin has opened his eyes. Putin has escalated the war. There's been more and more missile attacks on Ukrainian civilians.
We'll get to that subject
Okay.
in a minute. All right. Larry, your thoughts on D.C. federal troops in D.C.?
Well, Dennis, you worked about 4 anti-Trump things into that all at once, as masterful wordism. But I do want to say, Dennis, unfortunately, the crime rate is not down. When you don't report a crime, it doesn't go away. It's just not reported. In 2021, the DC Crime Lab lost its accreditation. It was not able to process chemical, organic, fingerprints, gun evidence, or anything else. What they did during that time is they started lowering the charges. They would take a gun charge and lower it to assault with a weapon, but not specifically a gun charge. So what they did is they recategorized a whole lot of violent crime so that it dropped down into a nonviolent crime or a simple crime. Now, I was born in Bethesda, Maryland. My mother's side of the family was raised in Washington, D.C. So I've visited D.C. often. even when I was through there, going through the mall and down through the monuments area, there were still homeless people. This was like 15 years ago. The first time I went through with my uncle, and he pointed out everything, and he says, there are so many people down here now that are homeless, and they're nagging people, and they weren't violently assaulting them as much as they are now. The
All
last
right.
time out, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no. Let me ask this question then. And we didn't talk about this before, but is being safe, citizens being safe, should that be a political conversation or a conversation about safety?
Well, I actually both. The citizen safety, and this is the part that bothers me. Trump basically by federalizing it, or by taking control of the law enforcement, which he is legally perfectly fine with doing. Uh, the idea that he's going in there to make people safer, to stop people from being harassed, attacked, or violently assaulted. I find it really difficult as somebody that's worked with law enforcement for 40 years to say, gee, we don't want him here. And why would someone not want help cleaning up an area with crime? Even assuming Dennis's statement that his crime rate is down is true, which it isn't. Even assuming that, who wouldn't want help making their town safer for everyone else?
Well,
And of course, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, there's an easy 5-letter word: Trump.
Well, and
Yeah.
here's another thing that people forget, and have been actively hiding, in my opinion. The gentleman that's responsible in D.C. to report these findings has been on paid administrative leave for the last 2 years because he was caught cooking the books.
Wow.
Number one. And number two, they are not counting the crimes that are committed by minors, which is a lot of very nasty things, because these people who are running these things are going after minors, having them commit the crime, and then they can't be prosecuted as adults. So they let them out, and they just keep that mill going. So, yeah, it's a hot mess. And the interview that I saw with the mayor, is she a mayor?
She is the mayor,
Okay,
Muriel
the mayor.
Bowser.
Yep.
And her deputy, they were not opposed to the help. They were not opposed to the help. They said they were a little concerned and that they would be watching. But they did not stand up there and say Trump is taking over. We don't want him here, yada, 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 yada. At least the interview that I saw. Is that true or not? Am I
Dennis,
lying?
Go ahead.
You're correct.
Okay.
But circumstances have changed overnight. Pam Bondi basically put the federal government in charge of the D.C. Police Department. They temporarily replaced the police chief in D.C. with somebody in the federal government, and Bowser and the D.C. government have sued, alleging that that's illegal. But the whole thing about it is everything I've seen is crime is down in D.C. and nationwide, and, this deployment is not helping anything. The troops are being deployed in low crime areas, not high crime areas. The National Guard troops are not armed, so it's a completely ineffectual public relations stunt that's not going to reduce crime in D.C. And these National Guard members, they're being yanked away from their homes, their jobs.
That's their job.
Their families.
That's their job.
But it's for a publicity stunt. It's for a
Oh,
political
no.
statement.
That's your opinion.
That's your opinion.
It's my opinion, but I
your
think it's
opinion.
accurate. I mean, Trump threw a fit when a member of Doge was assaulted somewhere in downtown D.C., and he's very impulsive and very mercurial, and so he did this deployment because some Doge guy got beat up.
That
I
is
feel
not
bad for the guy. Oh,
true.
yeah, he responded when they call this guy Big Balls. When Big Balls got beat up, I guess he responded by sending in the troops. I mean, this is just a distraction. I mean, here we
Okay.
are talking about D.C. rather than the Epstein cover-up and the bad economic news.
All right. So what about when we sent troops into L.A.?
Completely unnecessary. And I read that the national
Hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes.
that was through the fire.
Yeah.
Well, you have to send troops in if there's a fire, but I thought you were talking about the more recent deployment over the alleged virtually non-existent riots in L.A. earlier this year.
I haven't heard. What? Wait, what?
Well, the National Guard was sent to L.A. during the spring because a handful of people burned up a couple cars. And so Trump
I
is
have to go back and look at
as
that.
a
I don't
power
remember
move.
that.
The
They
National
burned down a Tesla dealership.
Oh, that thing.
And
They
a
didn't.
lot
They
of
didn't burn
cars.
down a dealership. That's an exaggeration. I mean,
Wait a minute. They had to close the dealership because of the violence.
but it wasn't burned down though. But here's the deal.
Well, hold on.
No, like,
You're talking about
I'm
physically
fact-checking.
building buried to the ground, or just fires in cars and they were forced to shut down?
there's a couple fires in cars.
Okay.
But
and that's okay with you.
I never said that. What I'm saying was the National Guard deployment to L.A. was also unnecessary. These demonstrations in a very small
They couldn't
part
stop
of
the
town.
demonstrations.
Oh, they were well under control. They didn't need National Guard help.
If it was under control, then why were they burned down cars?
Well,
I mean, serious.
well,
Okay,
they only
I-
burned down 2. Then it was over. I mean, it's too many.
It was more than.
But the National Guard troops deployed to L.A. had low morale. They resented being there for a political stunt from Trump. And
Who did you talk to that was on the National Guard that said that?
I read articles about it, Mac.
who?
I can't remember the source. It was several weeks ago.
Okay. So
Can I jump in?
It could very well have been a false source.
Well, it could have been a correct source too. It's a false source that crime in D.C. is soaring like a rocket.
It's not. It's
Well,
not.
time out.
The man
Fox
who
News
is
and the New York Post?
responsible for reporting it has been on leave because they caught him cooking the books.
Would you guys post that on the chat? I'd love to see that stuff that you guys are talking about because I haven't run across it.
Okay.
Larry?
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Thank you.
Just jumping in here. They didn't. The National Guard wasn't called in to quell riots. What happened was the ICE agents that were in the city were being attacked and abused and assaulted. And then during that assault with the ICE agents, they were setting fires. They had them cornered in buildings, the whole 9 yards. So Trump sent the National Guard in there in order to free the ICE agents that were trapped in buildings and trapped in their offices and such.
Okay.
So it was not just a matter of rioting, which did happen. And I don't remember anyone ever saying that riots have to have a specific number of people to be considered a riot. The agents that were there were being abused, they were being assaulted, and again, they were trapped. They were barricaded into their own offices and stopped from going anywhere into the city. So at that point, there weren't enough ICE agents. The city had not reacted. Trump had called Newsom and talked to him about it. The city had not reacted at that point. So Trump sent the National Guard in to solve the problem. It went through the Court of Appeals, by the way, found that Trump was on solid ground as far as sending the troops in there.
Okay, I'm going to ask a very ignorant question.
There's no such thing.
This is a yes or no answer. Is Donald Trump in charge of the military? Is he chief commander?
Yes.
What's the term?
Yep.
Yes, he is.
Chief commander.
No, Commander in Chief.
Commander in chief.
I mean,
Thank you.
He has the legal right to do it, but I'm questioning his judgment. This is an issue of judgment. Why is he doing it? There's a twofold analysis. Is it legal? The answer would be yes. Is this good judgment? The answer would
Is
be
it
no.
legal in California?
Yes.
So
Yes.
he can send troops anywhere he wants.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, and I respect your opinion that you disagree that they need to be there.
Right.
All right, anybody else on this, and then we're going to move on.
Nope, I'm good.
Let's move on.
I just want to touch one more area where they say crime is down. There are at least, I think, a dozen states or more, and almost all reds or all blue states that after I think 2019 stopped sending their crime data to the FBI to be culled and
Yeah, they did.
No.
Yeah, they did.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
They absolutely did.
I posted something in the chat about that a few weeks ago, Larry, and a reply to something you put up there. But I guess the FBI crime stats are good. They have a pretty good response rate. There's a high percentage of communities and cities that submit the data, so the data is largely accurate. I posted something in the chat about that a few weeks ago, Larry.
Data is only accurate if it's reported.
Correct.
A crime is not a crime if it's not reported.
Well,
And these were in almost all blue states, except I think Florida was involved in it for a bit. And now they're putting theirs in. So you can't say crime is down if you stop reporting it.
well, there's an
And this is a.
I'm sorry, Larry, go for it.
I was just saying it's a fallacy that crime is down just because you don't report it or just because it can't be gathered and organized.
Well, and this also goes the other way. I know that there has been work done in the judicial system because in some states the laws seem to hurt one group of people more than the others, and the blacks would stand up and say, hey, you make it a felony for me to do this because we're likely to do this. Well,
Right.
we're likely to do this
Right.
is an opinion, okay, unless you go into
The statistics.
the statistics.
Right.
So we do have situations where laws attack certain people, and the same law is easy on the next person. And I think we're getting that cleared up. That's kind of an old story, but I think we're trying to get that cleared up.
Yeah.
All right. Parents being jailed for their kids' crimes. I'm just going to sit back and listen to this because I like this one. Go ahead.
You want me to go?
Well,
Dorsey suggested the idea, and then I'll reply.
Okay. No, you go.
All right. Well, here's the deal. Dorsey suggested this area of discussion. Apparently, there's a city in New Jersey of 66,000 people, Gloucester City or something like that. And apparently, they want to pass an ordinance making parents criminally responsible for the criminal acts or alleged criminal acts of their children. I posted an article about it in the chat from the New York Post, and there's this long laundry list of crimes in this proposed ordinance, and some of them are very vague and very imprecise, and I think they create some serious constitutional questions. I think one was like immorality. I mean, it's too vague. I think that's probably unconstitutional. And there's also a foundational principle of criminal law that you learn in your first year of law school. It's called mens rea, criminal intent. Somebody can't be convicted of a crime unless there's criminal intent. And I think this law is unconstitutional and simply unwise because let's say there's a responsible parent and they have a crazy, out-of-control child that throws a rock through a window or something like that. I mean, there's no criminal intent on the part of the parent in that act, so the parents should not be held criminally responsible. So I would disagree with this proposal.
Okay, I'm going to go with what you just said for a minute. Give me a second, Dorsey.
Yep.
So if John steals, John's 14, and he takes dad's gun, which is not locked up, and he goes to school and kills somebody, should dad be liable for that or not?
I think he should be for money damages, but not criminal. Because there'd be some negligences involved in not locking up the gun. And so if the victims want to bring a lawsuit against the parents for negligence for not locking up the gun for money damages, I think they have every right in the world to
Civilly
do
it'd
that.
be okay.
Civilly, precisely. Yeah. Criminally, I don't think so.
All right, Dorsey.
Okay. So on the post, I put that I was torn on this. And the reason why I'm torn on this is because in theory, it makes perfectly good sense because parenting, in my opinion, big, bold, capital letters, a lot of parents let their children run the streets. And they get involved in activities that they shouldn't be involved in, and the parents are not trying to do anything to raise their children. And the powers that be are out there getting these kids. They're committing heinous crimes. And then when they're caught, they can't be prosecuted because they're minors, right? So if you are going to be lazy and not make sure that your children are at home and that they're supervised, yes, I believe you should go to jail if you're not making sure your kids are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We have a law in Nebraska that says that if your kids are truant, which means they're not going to school, you can be, as a parent, prosecuted for that, okay? So, but then on the other hand of that, to Dennis's point, putting me in jail because my kids did something immoral. What the heck do you consider immoral? right?
Yeah.
So
That's
very
relative.
vaporous. Yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't think you should be necessarily able to enforce that. So I don't know how they're going to do that. But something needs to be done because these kids are just losing their minds.
All right, Larry, I'm going to let you go ahead, and then I'm going to comment basically on what Dorsey just said.
All right. I ask any parent. Good parents can have bad kids.
Correct.
And it's unfortunate. Cindy and I adopted twin boys on top of our own two children. And the twin boys had unfortunately, a tough life up to 4.5 years old. And there were a lot of problems with them. Nothing we could do. We finally looked to the local police and said, look, if you need to charge these boys for this, do it. Okay, because nothing else is happening. Dorsey is absolutely right. You should be able to, but if you look at a lot of families nowadays, there is only one parent in the home. Usually it's the mother. And if a teenager or whatever says, I'm going out and you can't stop me, there's nothing that parent can really do about that. So I do agree with Dennis as well. I think civil penalties for that, for damages done or being civilly responsible. And I also think that if the crime is serious enough, the kids should be tried as adults.
I agree.
That's what juvenile detention is for.
All right, Larry, let me give you, and I'm glad you spoke because you have exactly what I'm talking about. Mom, I'm going out tonight. I'll see you later. The hell you are. You've got homework and school, and you're not going out that door. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. Is it child abuse? Could that parent be charged with child abuse, or what's the other thing that they do all the time with the kids anyway?
I don't consider it child abuse. I got
Neglect.
Oh, neglect? Because the child does not. I had a daughter who decided, for whatever reason, she was arguing with her father, that she got this idea from school, and this was some years ago. She's 43 now, that she could call the police and turn us in for, oh no, this is wonderful, for neglect. Because he was telling her that she was not leaving the house because her chores were not done and it was a school night and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't know that when I brought up what I just said. But
I know.
It's kind of cool that it matches it.
Right. So I'm in bed. I had an all-nighter because I was on call and went to bed early. And 911 calls. And I pick up the phone and they said, this is 911. Someone from your address called. And I said, I'm sorry, you've got the wrong number, because my children would have no reason to call 911.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hang up and I go back to bed. 5 minutes later, sheriff is at my front door.
Ding dong.
Okay?
Yep.
I go downstairs. My husband goes to the door. We got a phone call from a minor here, sounded like a child, saying that she was being abused. So I said, okay. I took her off in another room, asked her what was going on. She told me. And this is what the officer did. Young lady, you need to understand that domestic violence is the most dangerous situation that police officers respond to. We were fully prepared to shoot everyone in this house because you didn't want to do what your parents wanted you to do. If you do this again, we will take you downtown because you filed a false report. She's in tears. I'm in the other room laughing my behind off. Never happened again. But my point is that some of these authorities, when it comes to these children, seem to be able to tell these think they can tell these children that they can weaponize the police and the state against their parents. And I can tell you firsthand from the state of Nebraska, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Larry.
Well, I survived an Irish childhood. So my father was 6'3", 240 pounds, and loved the drink.
Ah,
So if my mother told me to do something and added, "I'm going to tell your father," I did it.
yes.
It's no questions asked. Was I abused by today's standards? Probably, yeah.
Me too. Me too.
However, at the time, I knew I deserved it. You know, so I did things differently with my children to some degree, but they were still, when they were given an order, they did what they were told.
Yes.
There was an occasional spanking in the younger kids, but no abuse.
No.
So, but I agree with Dorsey 100%. Call their bluff. We had that happen with one of the twins who was getting into a lot of trouble, and I said, "Come home, you're grounded." And they were like 9 or 10 years old. And I said, "Plus, you're probably going to get a whipping." So the neighbor called the cops and said, "Hey, this guy's going to beat his kid if he goes home, but he's afraid to go home." So the officer came and talked to me, and he says, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm probably going to give him a couple swats on the bottom." "Well, that could be abuse." And I said, "Then start writing the ticket."
Right.
So
I got bail money.
yeah, and we did have child protective services call us and come in and talk to us. And I said, "Look, if you want to raise my kid, take him, but we don't abuse our children." "Well, he was a little old to be spanked." "In your book, okay, baby, but not mine."
Right.
So it's a sharp edge to balance on, but it pays off for the parents that manage to do it.
I agree.
Well, on a cherry on top on this whole wonderful topic, this is one of the oldest situations on earth. If Adam and Eve had handled Cain and Abel, there would have been one more person around. So it goes back all the way, guys.
Right.
Yep.
Gerrymandering. Dennis, what's the definition of that?
Well, it's drawing legislative lines, congressional lines, to favor your party over the other. And it goes all the way back to, I think it was the 1812 or 1814 election cycle. Elbridge Gerry, one of our founding fathers, was the governor of Massachusetts, and he redrew some lines, and the legislature redrew some lines in 1812 or 1814 to favor his party, and one looked like a salamander, literally, and so it became known as gerrymandering, and it's a practice as old as the Republic, and there's been an escalation in the wars over gerrymandering. Texas is making the unusual decision to redraw lines after 5 years after the census. Normally, the lines are drawn once every 10 years, but Texas is making a very unusual decision to redraw the lines in response to Texas.
Well, no,
No, it's in response to Texas.
It's in response to Texas.
What does Texas have to do with California?
Well,
Because they want to change the way that they do things to push out the remaining Republicans, and so that all of the seats that represent California are Democrats.
I mean, here's the big picture is.
I'm sorry, just a second. What I heard was in Texas and in California, they do not want to count illegal immigrants within the census.
Nope.
That's not it.
That's
not
not
the
it.
issue.
That's not the issue.
Right. I mean, here's the issue, if you don't mind, is the Democrats are favored to retake the House in 2026. They're clear favorites, and the Democrats have been doing well in the special elections and off-year elections in 2025. And the Republicans are anticipating a good year for the Democrats because the Democrats are the out party. That's the historical pattern. And so the Texas Republicans decided they wanted to redraw the lines to create 5 new Republican seats to try to withstand a blue wave next year. So that's how it got started. Now, what the Republicans are doing is a bit of a gamble. The 5 new seats have a lot of Hispanic voters in the proposed districts, and Trump did reasonably well with Hispanics last year, better than most previous Republicans. And so the gamble is that the Hispanics will remain loyal to the Republicans in 2026. But if you believe the polls, I understand there's some doubts about them. Trump's support among Hispanics has collapsed this year. His approval among Hispanics is about 30% or something. And so in response to reply, Gavin Newsom is going to put on the ballot in California in November a measure that would redraw the lines, give the Democrats 9 additional seats. A lot of other states are getting involved in this gerrymandering war. I think Indiana, Ohio, and Florida would like to create more Republican seats.
Someone said Nebraska too.
This is
I don't
legal
know
to do.
It is legal.
It's
to
legal.
All right, Larry, go ahead.
Well, gerrymandering is interesting. It's a manipulation. And there are two basic types. One is cracking, where they spread voters across districts so that you don't have a concentration of one party or another. And the other is called packing, where they concentrate voters into fewer districts. In Texas, if they do these 5 additional seats, it's really not 5 additional seats. What it is basically is pushing out 5 Democrat seats that are currently probably held by Democrats. And they're going to change those. I find it interesting that, gerrymandering used to be discussed in hushed tones in hallways and closets. And now, for whatever reason, Texas has decided to redistrict. Now, governors are openly saying, well, if they could gerrymander, we could gerrymander too. So we're going to gerrymander. So anything California, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Illinois is a joke completely.
Yes.
But but all of these people are going just openly, well, then if you do that, we're going to gerrymander too.
Larry,
so, yes.
Okay, so it's legal to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's illegal for the Democrat, in the case of Texas, for the Democrats to run away and hide in other states so they don't have to be there for the vote.
2 different subjects.
2 different
Yeah.
subjects.
Two completely
But
different
is it
subjects.
illegal for them to do that?
Yes.
No, it's not illegal.
Yes, it is. It's against their state constitution. That's why there's warrants out for them. Yes, it is. It is illegal. I promise you.
The
it is.
Democrats are just playing hardball. That's just
But
politics.
It's illegal.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the statute.
So we digress. So just to let you know, I didn't know if you had heard this, Dennis, but the California has a board that is nonpartisan that draws the district lines in California.
Yeah.
And Newsom
Correct.
has told them he doesn't give a crap. He's going to do this. And now the people in California are mad at Newsom because Newsom is going against what the board says that they want done, because he's basically saying what they're saying doesn't matter, which defeats the purpose of the board in the first place. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I'm just letting you know that that's just one more thing with his TDS. I mean, he's actually going against something that he actually put in place to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen. So,
all right.
Well, Newsom's proposal would temporarily suspend the nonpartisan redistricting commission because the circumstances are quite unusual. I fully support what Newsom is doing. I mean, you just have to fight fire with fire. It's a street fight. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. I mean, the Republicans in Texas started this fight, and so Democrats have every right to reply and respond. They
even if it's illegal.
It's not illegal.
No, it's illegal for in the state for you to leave.
No. That's different. No. That's different.
It's not illegal what Newsom is doing. Absolutely not.
What were you going to say, Larry?
It's going to be a ballot initiative.
Yeah, what Dennis was just saying, that Newsom in California is getting even with Texas.
Yeah.
That's nowhere near California.
No.
So it's not a matter of being an honest fight. It's a matter of other states putting their thumbs on their scales to try to outmaneuver somebody in another state. That's not politics, all right? Newsom has nothing to do with Texas. Texas has nothing to do with California.
Correct.
So there should be none of this quid pro quo crap, because it's not. There's nothing equal about it. And, it's not as though if Texas redistricts, it's not as if California loses any seats or anything changes in California.
That's correct. And it doesn't.
It's about control of the U.S. House. That's the big picture here.
Oh, no, we get that.
And California has every right under the sun to respond and reply. They should not roll over to this power grab.
Roll over to what?
It's
Nothing
a power
Texas
grab
does.
to steal 5 seats.
Nothing Texas does affects California. in any way, shape, or form.
It doesn't.
Well, if the Republicans control the House in 2026, that has a big impact on California.
Still has nothing to do with one state being pitted against another state.
Well, Texas started the fight, and if the Republicans control the House,
Okay.
it's going to affect California in a big way. So I'm all for Gavin. Go for it, buddy.
Let me tell you what I'm going to tell you one day, okay? If Trump thinks he's got to go in with troops, it's his decision and it's legal. And Dennis, you don't get to come back and say, well, that's just a bad decision. You can't do that. That's the law, and he's the chief and commander.
Well, it's legal. What Newsom is doing is going to be a ballot initiative.
Okay.
The voters will either vote yay or nay.
I'm just simply saying that he is overruling something that he said that he put in place. That was the only point of that whole conversation.
All right, Larry, anything less out or more out of you?
No, I'm content.
Well, I ran an AI search, so take this for what this is worth, my friends. Here's what it says. In Texas, it's not illegal for state senators to leave the state to prevent a vote. However, there are civil and political consequences associated with leaving, paying fines, civil arrests, political fallout. So,
Yeah.
Cool. All
there
right.
you go.
There you
It's
go.
not criminal.
All right.
It is
Okay.
civil.
I stand corrected. I was wrong. I am sorry.
Oh, no worries. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk for a minute. Well, we won't be on this very long, and this is a conversation we're kind of having in-house, and because of I'm just a big guy on transparency, unlike Barack Obama. I want to talk a little bit about the questions and the solutions we have on our Counterpoint Omaha page. And we have, in 1 year, we have only blocked one person. And I hated to do it, and none of us liked it, in fact. But this person was using vulgar language. And vulgar language is not acceptable. So what we also have to talk about is, what about name calling?
No.
No.
So when you say Trump lied, you won't do that anymore.
Well, if I have reasonable grounds to prove it and do it, I will.
So Larry
Absolutely.
can then say you were lied.
No, he can't, because I'm not lying. It's speculation and conjecture and propaganda.
Okay. That doesn't
Prevarication.
fly here, Dan.
And that, yeah, you
Well,
can't
Trump's
have it
not
both
gonna fly.
ways. You
I
cannot.
I can just tell you right now that if Trump
How about
lies,
we just don't say that? How about we just don't say that someone lied? How about we say, in my opinion, this
That
is not true?
Right.
I think that's a reasonable
Okay, because
response.
I
I
can
think
live
so.
with that.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
I can live with that.
If I break the rule, just gently reprimand me, and I'll
I
fix
do.
the post.
I mean, I have gone on the
appreciate it.
page, and I have seen people that have been following, and some new folks, and they've come in guns blazing.
Mhm.
Okay, and that's great, and that's fine. And I'm sure a lot of it is a response of being on other places on the platform for Instagram and all that other stuff where that kind of stuff is tolerated. We are grown-ups, and we are not going to allow anybody to come on this page and be disrespectful, period.
Because
You can't talk like that. You cannot talk that way to me.
Well, and we can't. If we decide it's not on the page, we've got to be the example on the air.
I agree.
Right, yeah.
Right.
And we do
And
great
I
on the
think we
air,
do
I think.
great.
Yeah.
All right.
Most of the time.
Larry, do you have that document that you sent me online? Do you have that in front of you?
I can have it up in a fraction of a minute.
Yeah, do that for a minute, because I think this is one of the best examples. And my grandma taught me this. We called them white lies. And she would say to me, "Did you lie?" "No, Grandma." "Well, here's how you lied." "Well, I just said I didn't like your cream pie, but I like the rest of them." "No, you said you don't like my pies." "Well, I meant to say cream."
Yeah. Okay, I've got it.
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw this.
No, I did not.
All right.
I have not
So,
seen this.
And I'm going to give Larry credit here. He wrote this. This was his pen.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it a work or masterpiece, but it's us. What do you want me to do with it, Mac? You want me to read it?
Yeah, I want you to read it.
Okay. It starts off, Trump lies are not material. They don't affect legislation, citizens, or people's lives. They're opinions. Liberals' lies are often illegal, affect people's lives, affect legislation, and are used to harm people. They have no basis in truth. For example, Trump, I had bacon and eggs for breakfast. Liberals, he's lying. He also had toast. Trump, my tie is a beautiful teal color. Liberals, he's lying. It's ugly. Trump, there were 5,000 people at my rally. Liberals, he's lying. There were only 4,999. Trump, I had breakfast at 7 a.m. Liberals, he's lying. It was 7:03. Trump, I'm going to make America great again. Keep America great. Liberals, he's lying. America was never great. And you see that coming off. Now, an example of a material lie. You can keep your doctor, and if you like your insurance, you can keep it. How about another one? The Benghazi attack and the death of American assets was because of a video. Or another, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Or the last, I have never received nor sent any material that was marked classified. And I put at the end of this, because it was an individual I was talking to, I said, I consider you an honorable man. But if you were as hated as Trump by people like you, I have no doubt that one could point to many of your opinions and call them lies. Context and perspective are tools for honest people. So obviously this was written from my perspective, but I think it's true. In most cases, Trump will exaggerate. He'll what he expects and what he actually is able to do may be two different things. But, he tries to do what he says he'll do. And sometimes it's not as easy as maybe it looked in the beginning. So
I want to talk about some certain words here. There are people using this word on Donald Trump, pedophile.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst things you can call somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And
Agreed.
Donald Trump is not a pedophile. He's never been charged with it. Nobody's ever told him that he can't do this or he can't do this. It's guilt by association with a dead man by the name of Epstein. Everybody agree with that? He's
I
not a
agree.
I do.
pedophile.
I agree.
There's no evidence he's a pedophile.
I agree.
All right. Is there evidence that Joe Biden was a pedophile?
No evidence he's a pedophile.
I don't think so.
He smelled people's hair.
He's
Yeah.
not a pedophile.
Oh, come on now.
Wait, well,
No.
No.
I agree.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
And what I'm trying to tell you is I was not a Biden fan, nothing like people against Trump. You people are just, you need to get locked up for a couple of years with psychoanalyze, get analyzed. But it was easy for someone to say, well, look at Biden smelling that lady's hair, putting his arm on that girl. We didn't do that as Republicans.
No, we didn't.
We didn't.
Oh, I have people on my page allege that Biden's a pedophile. I see it on a.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've seen it on my page several times.
but he's
Oh, I'm
not.
going to have to look for
I
that.
know he's not, but it's on my personal page.
So
People
then
come
why
on.
don't you tell those people that's not true? And if they continue to print. Okay, so are they saying that he was, or are they saying that's their opinion?
They're saying he is, but here's the thing:
Oh.
is
That's libel.
That's libel.
That's a
that-
felony.
Yeah.
let me show what the context is then it's usually like some conservative and some liberal just getting into it, just no holds barred,
Oh.
the fur flying. I just let them do it. I don't.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just
I
like,
get you.
Whatever.
I get you.
If you guys want to just go at it on something so silly and so trivial, okay, I'm going to talk about serious issues like the economy in Ukraine and this kind of thing.
But you don't tell them that they have to stop?
No, I just let them do it.
Okay.
You are accessible to crime. No, not accessible. What is it called?
Accessory.
Accessory.
You're
No,
an
I'm not.
accessory to crime.
Joe Biden knows I'm a supporter, so
No. If you let someone on your page say Donald Trump is a pedophile and you don't say something about it, you're an accessory.
It's not a crime.
It's a felony.
It's not a crime to let some hophead post something silly on my page. There's no crime there.
Okay, well, you know what? There's going to be.
I
Well,
think
bring
there's.
it on.
Yeah, I think they're starting to come up with some legislation that because people are ruining people's lives. saying stuff like this.
And we've already seen the court do it to ABC when what's his name said that Trump was a rapist.
Yeah.
And it cost him $13 million.
Yeah, they had to pay for that.
There are courts and lawyers working on that. Well, he said that on the FCC.
It was a frivolous lawsuit. ABC paid the money because they wanted a merger approved. They paid off a frivolous lawsuit.
But he shouldn't have said it because it wasn't true.
Well, here's the deal. It's in the Washington Post, and this is before they went to the dark side and aligned themselves with Trump. But the Washington Post had an article in 2022 or 2023 that a judge held Trump civilly liable for rape. A jury held Trump civilly liable for sexual assault and awarded money damages.
Never rape.
I'm trying to get my facts straight here, guys.
You're right.
If the judge said it was rape, the judge should be disbarred because it wasn't rape. It was what? Sexual assault.
That's what the jury found. The judge had a very technical opinion about why he was civilly liable for rape. I read it 2 or 3 times. It was pretty tessellated, his opinion.
So, Dennis, is Donald Trump a rapist?
Boy, that's a hard one to answer.
In your opinion.
Well, I respect the decision of the judge that said he was held civilly liable for rape. I think the judge was right.
What about the other judge that said it's not rape, it's just
I don't know about this.
I don't know about, but the jury in the same case said he was civilly liable for sexual assault and awarded money damages to E.G. and Carroll.
Okay, so why would you take the position that rape is the right word rather than the term that the judge used, which was sexual assault?
Well, the judge said it was rape. The jury said it was sexual assault.
He didn't say rape in the official decision.
Right, civilly liable for rape. I mean, Mac, I'm very legalistic when I do this. I don't paint with a broad brush on legal issues like this.
Donald Trump is not a rapist. And to say he is illegal and libel.
It's not illegal at all. I mean,
it's not libel?
No.
It's not true.
He's a public figure.
He's not been convicted of rape.
But he's a public figure, so it's not libel. And
so
plus,
what's the definition of libel? Help me with this.
Well, you have to say a term that is, I think, either false or with reckless disregard. But E. Jean Carroll alleged that he raped her. Right or wrong, she made that allegation.
He is not a rapist, and you can't even agree.
I'm just telling you what the judge ruled, Mac.
No, the judge did not rule that.
Yes, he did. I'll post in the chat if you want me to. Yeah, Washington Post.
I want to see the actual ruling.
Yeah, I can find it.
I don't want to hear conversation.
I'll find you the ruling. I've
you're
read
going to tell me that when I look it up, this judge ruled that Donald Trump was a rapist.
Civilly liable for rape. I want to make the terms correct. I'm a lawyer.
Liable for rape.
Correct.
That doesn't make him a rapist.
Well, not in the criminal sense, but civilly, yes, money damages.
But that doesn't make him a rapist.
I don't know. I'd have to read the opinion again, Mac. I'll find it and post it.
Well, here's my experience with this, and this is why my gander gets so hot. On Valentine's Day of 20, I had a young man enter one of my facilities trying to sell drugs, and we caught him and told him to leave. He came back in with boxing gloves on, boxed one of my guys' face up. They took him down on the ground, called 911, and 8 minutes later, he was dead. And I was taken to court civilly for murder.
So this is your employee that threw the punch? I'm trying to get my facts.
No. The gang person threw the thump at my bouncer.
Yeah.
My public relations guy. And the guy went down on the ground and he passed away. Here's the point of the conversation.
The guy that threw the punch that knocked your guy down, was he your employee?
No.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
He was your employee. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure this out.
Okay.
Why was I charged with murder?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the court file. I think you got cleared, weren't you, Mac? That's my memory of our conversation.
Well, but my point was, in the state of Iowa, corporations don't own liquor licenses. People do. I was home in bed.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even working there.
I'd have to read the
But I owned the facility.
But weren't you cleared eventually? You told me this story once.
I was.
Good.
But do you think being called an alleged murderer for a year was good for my kids, my wife, my family, my businesses? You're saying it's okay to say it. Alleged rapist.
Absolutely not. You're a good
Wasn't
man, Mac.
convicted of rape.
I have complete faith in your integrity and honesty. It was not good. Trump has a bad reputation.
I had a bad reputation after that. I had somebody paint on my garage, "N murderer."
Well, you were unfairly attacked, but I mean, there's been 25 allegations of sexual assault made by women against Trump. I mean, you can look it up.
Okay.
Allegations.
And here's my problem with this whole conversation. First of all, Mac, I am really sorry that happened to you.
Right.
Nobody had a problem with Trump when he was a Democrat. They were singing songs about how he was whoring around and asking him to come to every party on the planet. All of a sudden, he becomes a Republican, and now he's not a nice person, and that's not what I was going to say. And the man has not changed one way over. The only difference between him and now is that he seems to have gotten some sense about caring about what is important to the country. But he was just as self-seeking and arrogant then as he is now. And I'm really irritated with the whole situation where he was golden when he was a Democrat and had all that money slinging at the Dems, and he crossed the bridge, and now he's not a nice person.
He was a pretty controversial figure when he was a Democrat. He did not have a good reputation in New York
Y'all
City.
loved him. Y'all loved him.
No, we didn't.
And all the rappers loved him, and all of the people who raised money. Help me.
Charities.
Not charities. For the parties. What are those folks?
He had a bad reputation in New York City, even when he was a Democrat, because he had some pretty unethical business practices. He said a lot of outrageous things. I mean, the man has not changed. He was very controversial throughout his entire adult life.
But this
is nothing new. Well, he is the president of the United States. He was duly and legitimately elected in 2024, and he has a position of great power, and with great power comes great responsibility, and we citizens have the right and the obligation to subject our elected officials to strict scrutiny and criticism if necessary.
Okay, so
And I agree with that.
Yeah, getting back to the point, we're not going to call him names anymore. We're not going to allow other people call him.
I don't do it. I've never allowed anybody to do, and I didn't do it with Mr. President Biden either. I did not allow anybody to. Once we figured out what was going on with that gentleman, with every conversation I had on either side of the aisle, especially with the Republicans, I would tell them, you need to knock that off. Number one, he's an elderly gentleman. You don't talk to people that age like that in the first place. And second of all, he is the president of the United States. And third of all, he is not in a position where he's not doing this stuff. I have been saying this since jump. This is not him doing this stuff. Now, he has had his moments, but in my opinion, you automatically lose any conversation that you are having with anyone when you start to resort to name calling. It takes away from the entire point of the conversation.
Yeah, you're right. Agree totally. I mean, here's the position I take on the chat and here on the show is I'm trying to persuade if I can, and so I have a policy focus. These policies are bad for the country, and here's why. On the rare occasions I have an agreement with the administration, I'll say it. Yesterday, I posted on the chat an article where the Treasury Secretary called for a ban on stock trading by members of Congress, and I said this is a rare area of agreement with the administration, and Dorsey and Larry came on and replied very nicely. I appreciate the positive replies.
Yeah, I agree 110%.
So I'm a policy guy. That's my position.
And that's my gig too. Keep it on policy. Right. Keep it on what, the discussion points are. Because I personally, as soon as you start calling me any kind of name, I click out. I click out and walk away because I don't need the abuse. And, unfortunately, in my opinion, COVID has brought out the worst in people, and people think that they can talk to people just any kind of way they want to because they're on a public forum. You would never say some of the stuff that I've had seen people say if you knocked on my front door and had to say that to my face. It wouldn't happen. People aren't that cruel. So anyway, I have monopolized this entire conversation. Larry, it's your turn.
You got 1 minute, Larry.
You made some
All
good
right, I'll
points.
try to talk fast. Dennis, when you're right, you're right. And you're right so seldom, we have to give it to you when you do it. So,
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Look, and I've done this before online, and I've had someone in there, and I tell them this, look, we have a gentleman's agreement between several of us that, we're going to give benefit of the doubt. We're not going to do certain things. But we don't have that with you. And if you want to abide by it, wonderful. If you don't want to abide by it, I can just start approving your posts, to make sure they don't go through. Speaking of which, with James Hopp,
Not without
man,
my
about everything.
permission.
Well, okay, but basically almost everything he tries to post, Facebook tags and says this is spam. So I don't know why, but and they did that with Dennis for a little while. Then all of a sudden, nothing. But James appears to be he's drawn almost everything he does.
Well, and we really are on a time limit here because we have to quit
I'm
in 60
sorry.
minutes.
Okay.
But yes, there was a time when Facebook did that with Dennis, and I told Facebook, as the owner of the page, stop it. It's not spam.
Okay.
For everybody else, thanks for listening. It's called Point Counterpoint Omaha.